What kind of thoughts do you have during a game? Have you ever paid much attention to them? What about during practice, or before a game, or after a game, or even when you're just lying in bed at night? Here's another question for you. If you do know what kinds of thoughts you have, are they in your control? Or does it feel like you're at the mercy of uncontrolled thoughts? Ones that tear down your confidence, distract you, and make you feel anxious or afraid when you compete. Your thoughts can either make or break your game as an athlete, which is why you want to make sure that what you're thinking is helping you instead of hurting you. And that's where self-talk comes into play. Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. In this 4-part series, you're going to learn what self-talk is, how self-talk can negatively impact your play, how it can elevate your game, and then a way that you can positively use self-talk as an athlete. Now, most of our thinking is going to be automatic. In fact, about 90% of it is. And if that's the case, we're going to be in trouble if our natural thoughts are more negative. Now, most of the athletes I've worked with who've dealt with performance anxiety, self-doubt, fear of failure, or any other mental game challenge have exhibited largely negative natural thought patterns. But what about the other 10%? That's where conscious thoughts become important. Because here's the thing, over time, your 10% thoughts are going to be training your 90% thoughts. Now, this means that if you can consciously think certain thoughts, after a while, those kinds of thoughts are going to become automatic. Now, unfortunately, this often occurs on the negative side. We hear other people speak negatively, and then we speak and think negatively ourselves, leading to a natural thought pattern that's more negative and self-critical. To make sure that you are instilling a more positive pattern of automatic thinking, you want to focus on applying positive self-talk. Now, self-talk involves the way you think and how you speak to yourself. We all exhibit self-talk because we're going to have thousands of thoughts throughout the day. But is your self-talk right now more negative or more positive? And if it is positive, is that in the form of your conscious thoughts or your automatic thoughts? Because both forms of thinking are self-talk. It's just that right now, if your automatic thoughts are largely negative, you want to be sure that your 10% conscious self-talk is focused on positive thoughts that are going to work to reprogram the automatic ones. But we're going to talk more about this in a later video. For now, let's take a deeper look at self-talk, breaking it down further into 2 different categories. We have indirect and we have direct self-talk. Now, indirect self-talk involves the thoughts you have about others and your situation and environment. I still consider this self-talk because it's going to have an impact on your mental state, such as your confidence, for example. However, you aren't necessarily having thoughts that are directly related to yourself. Your thoughts are more about other people or the environment around you. An example is when you see a really intimidating opponent. Whether it's an entire team or just one person, what kind of thoughts do you have when you see that intimidating opponent? They're probably going to be about that intimidating opponent, but they also are going to involve you. Another example is if you're playing at a field or court that you don't like. You may start having thoughts about, how you never play well there, or maybe even how you always have great games at that field. With indirect self-talk, your thoughts are directed outwards, but they still have an impact on your internal world. Now, here are some examples of what indirect self-talk may look like for you as an athlete. That team looks really good. I hate that ref. He always makes bad calls. This field is awful. This team sucks. It'll be an easy win today. I can't believe coach is starting her. Now, besides indirect self-talk, we also have direct self-talk. And direct self-talk is going to involve your internal world. Instead of talking about the environment or the people around you, your thoughts are specifically targeted towards yourself. Now, direct self-talk has the clearest impact on your mood because you are talking to yourself about yourself. So let's think about after you make a mistake. What kinds of thoughts do you have? Do you start beating yourself up and you're extremely self-critical? If so, that's a prime example of negative direct self-talk. But what about when you're talking yourself through a drill or you're focusing on your mechanics? What kind of thoughts are you having then? Those will also be direct self-talk. You are speaking to yourself specifically about yourself. Now, here are a few examples of some direct self-talk. I know that I'm a great player. I can't believe I made such a stupid mistake. I suck. I'll never make it. Arms back, stay inside the ball. Stay low. I've got this. Those are directly related to yourself, and they can either be positive or negative. Now that you have a better understanding of what self-talk is, both indirect and direct self-talk, go ahead and click right here to watch the next video in the series that goes into detail on how negative self-talk is going to hold you back as an athlete.